When was the first time you experienced racism?
The first time I experienced racism, I was 8 years old. My uncle was married to a white lady, and she took myself and one of my cousins to her family reunion. I picked up one of their toys, and the kid, who at the time had to be about 5 years old, told me, you can't touch that. You can't touch that toy because your darkness will rub off on the toy. And I remember being a little hurt, but more disappointed, because then I was at this place surrounded by people that I just knew didn't like black people.
The first time I experienced racism was in 1965. It was the second year after school integrations. I was sitting in the teacher's class in the front row where I always sat, and this white girl came up to me. She goes, "Why are you sitting up here?" They were expecting me to sit in the back of the room.
I remember being a little boy living in New York, getting ready to move to Virginia the summer of 2000, and all of my friends telling me, "Oh, you're gonna move down there and they're gonna have you picking cotton." My first day of school, I saw the cotton field, freaked me out, and 3 months later, I will never forget this white guy at school. I guess I made him mad and he called me a faggot. And I remember saying something back to him, but his response back to me was, "Shut up, you dumb nigger." I was so stunned and taken aback, and I didn't know what to do with that. It was just very like, what?
I'd been fired from my job for being trans. I ran into someone who owed me money on the streets. They were walking with several other Mexican-American peers, and I asked them where my money was. Two of them turned around and called me the N-word. I never knew that someone else who understood the struggle, whose liberation was linear to mine, could find it in themselves to use such a nasty word toward me.
You experience racism from the moment you were born, especially as a person of color. You experience systematic racism. But the worst time I experienced racism, I was living in New York City at the time, and I was visiting my boyfriend. It was our 6-month anniversary, and we always had this like kind of cheese that we liked. It was like a dill cheese. It was something like stupid. But we forgot to get the cheese that we wanted. So I was like, "Don't worry, I'll run back and get it." So I ran out of my house. It was also cold, so I was like running really fast. And when I got in the market, a couple of policemen grabbed me, threw me to the ground, put me in handcuffs, knee on the back of my neck. After they discovered that I didn't have anything that they were looking for on me, they said that I matched a description of someone, and that they were looking for somebody who was selling or buying drugs. And I said, "Well, are you going to apologize for getting the wrong person?" And their response was, "Well, at least you're not going to jail today." And they walked off. From that moment forward, I've never ever felt like police were something that actually kept me safer, only something that put my life in danger.
You can accuse me of being a bad person based on a characteristic, something I've done, something I've said, but I can't control the color of my skin.
It kind of set me on a journey of code switching. Code switching means that you kind of switch the way you speak, you talk, you sound, your personality to make sure that you are palatable for white people.
But I remember that I never wanted to make anyone feel like she made me feel.
When was the last time you
Experienced
Racism.
The last time like really full-on experience racism was the moment that I got announced to be on the cast of RuPaul's Drag Race season 11. Never before had I read a message from somebody calling me a nigger, and all of a sudden I had 30.
I would say I was on Drag Race. I said in my confessional, Valentina needs to go home. From that one moment, the flood of hate mail that I received in my inbox, "You nigger, you baboon, you monkey," the death threats just from stating my opinion of another competitor in a competition.
The last time I experienced racism was actually about a month ago, and I was hanging out with some friends, and they were all white, and then one of their friends, who I didn't know, we were playing a game of taboo, and the word was horse. So I said, "What kind of animal would I be if I were on a farm?" And one guy said gorilla, and this guy said you'd be a slave. Like, I really could not believe he said it. But instead, I just looked at him and I said, "What would make you think that I would say anything that would make you give an answer like that?"
The last time I experienced racism was via Twitter. I'd been talking about gun violence in America and the importance of having sensible gun laws, and someone came on my post and not only threatened to shoot me, but they used language that was layered and racist. I think the worst part about it was that they didn't just come out and call me the N-word, but they used adjectives and descriptors that let me know exactly what they meant. When they don't come out and say exactly what they mean, there are always those people who are there to pile on and tell you that you're making it up, that it's all in your head.
The older I get, I am more aware that racism is not an event. However, it is a system, and because it is a system, my eyes are unveiled to see what it is.
When I lived in LA, I felt it. I got tired of walking down the street and people putting their heads down or looking away. So I worked in the Pasadena area, and I would make people speak to me. I'd just go, hi, because they're in another world. And it would always shock them, and they'd smile about it. And my coworker goes, why do you do that? I says, because I'm here, and because I can, and they need to be happy.
It made me realize no matter how many movies, no matter how many books I wrote, no matter how many things that I was a part of, I still could be that guy.
And it still affects me to this day, because when I want to put out content, when I want to make a move, I think like, how is this going to read? Will this read too black? Will my white fans be offended if they don't see themselves in it? You're not hating me because of the quality of my work. It's simply based upon complexion. And when you have anti-blackness in your heart, in the back part of your mind, not knowing it's there, it is very easy for it to be manifested when the one or the thing that you praise is now coming under fire and attack.
Advice that I have for younger generations just experiencing racism for their first times, or older people experiencing it not for their first times, is keep talking. I think that conversation is the only thing that can create real change.
And what I've come to find out is that we can't heal what we don't reveal. And so if other people are unwilling to see the struggles and the challenges that we face being black in America, how are we ever going to get liberation, dignity, power, and respect?
Being in this moment right now, we are in a moment of the movement. The movement never stopped, okay? We've been fighting civil rights since the 60s, right? So we're just trucking. But finally, the world shut down, quarantine happened. Everybody has nothing but space, time, and opportunity to examine their own lives.
We are on the beginning of what's next. And it's really important to talk about how you feel and what you've experienced. And if you are not a person of color, it is really important to listen. It's more important ever than to listen to what we've been going through.